All right, you might have figured out that this guy's got a lot of radios. Yeah, I do. And these are two AM DX radios that are very tiny. And through modernization, FETs, in this case, of this Sony SRF-59 famous radio. This is a famous radio. It comes in a clear case. It can be sold at the prison. The prison store used to sell them. You could get them at Kmart for $8.97. That's where I bought this. I saw someone mention it online. Had to have it. Went and bought it. I had a Kmart block and a half away. It's not there anymore. In other words, I bought it, and yes, it works incredibly well. The dial is absolutely terrible. Uh, there's 2 pages on this on the internet. People that have rebuilt it. But the reason it picks up so well, one of the reasons, is it's got a real low frequency IF strip. So that's why. All right. Now this thing here is more modern. It uses ICs. The mixer section is an IC. I don't know if it's that special name mixer that's very low noise. I don't know. But it's a digital readout. The speaker's worthless. You have to use it with earphones. Um, it has 2 batteries, which are AAA, and it eats them, all right, because it's a digital radio. So, but both these are real good DX machines. This is a pain in the ass. If you only dial in one station and listen to that station all the time, this is fine. But you have to have headphones or earbuds, right? So that's not a great choice. But it's a collectible. This one here eats batteries. The speaker's worthless. Earphones, but it's got a digital display. All right. Also, it's got really good FM reception. But most people stream their music, so it's really not. People really don't care about that type of radio anymore. Now, this is my favorite radio, and it's a DX390. It's my workhorse. It's the one I use when I'm working with a tube radio. I set the upper and lower limits of the oscillator of the tube radio, and when I'm doing the calibration, all right, I don't use a frequency counter. I use this radio, and I got upset. I was mentioning on one of the groups, and the guy says, "Oh, that's got terrible. It's not as good as the DX398." Okay, yeah, I have a DX398. So I bought the DX398, right? 398. Yeah, DX398. This radio works really good, but the sound from the speaker is terrible. And when you get the speaker, you'll find it has biodegraded, and you have to change the speaker. You have to take the radio apart and change the speaker. So you might get a good one, you might not. So my favorite was the DX390, and someone says, "Oh, John, don't worry about it. Just open it up. There's a resistor in there." And I found the article. And you clip out the resistor. It's an attenuation. It's up in the front end. As soon as you clip that, the radio now works as good as any other radio. All right, so that's my go-to radio now. Now, the elephant in the room is there's really nothing to listen to on AM broadcast. Now, here we have 316, 1600 AM. It's not real bad with commercials. It plays oldies all day long. When I first got here, I listened to WOR out of New York. At night, Zoomer Radio 740 out of Canada, Grand Ole Opry 650, and then on Saturday night, Cousin Bruce, he has a rock and roll show on WABC 77. All right, so these things do get used, but to try to sell somebody that's new to the hobby on it, it's not going to happen. Now, how I got the hobby was whenever I was in the car with my father, he'd have WKBW Buffalo. Even though we were in New Jersey, he had WKBW Buffalo, 50,000 watt station on. And he could claim he could hear the signal lights, traffic lights, when they're going to change. He could hear the relays down through on the radio because the radio was tuned for out of state. And anyway, he could hear the traffic lights. But the reason he listened to WKBW was his favorite sibling, his sister, uh, was in Buffalo, and he'd call her up once in a while, and he rarely got to see her. And that was why. There's the why he was DXing, but it wasn't for all other stations. Now, he also used to, down in the cellar, he had a workshop, and he had a radio, and he would, an old radio someone gave him, and it was a big piece of furniture, and he would DX on that. And he had a Webcore tape recorder, and he'd record the station ID. And he kept playing it back and more than once until he realized what the letters were, and then he could figure out where the station was. So that was the second thing. And then he would always take my radio that I had. It's been recapped 3 times. I still have it. When I was little, and he would go take a shower and run that radio. And it was on WKBW, which came in good at night. And that's the reason for him. And then he passed this sort of on to me, you know. And years ago, it was amazing. Late at night, before I go to bed, sometimes on a Saturday night, if it was snowing out, middle of the winter, you're not going to go anywhere. All the TV shows were in reruns. There was no cable. There was no streaming. So television is now worthless. So it's late at night and you can't sleep. So in my case, I would go sit, and I had the national NC 125, and I used to DX other states, and they had rock and roll music on, and they were different format. The guy had he had an accent because he was from another state. They had a different playlist than the New Jersey, New York area. It was something. All right. Now you have all the abilities of everything through streaming. You don't need this hobby, you know, and that's the difference. You know, I'm telling you, the elephant in the room is when you do get the best, what you think is the best AM DX radio. There's really nothing really to listen to it. You could do it with streaming. You can go on the internet and listen to the station, but it's in me. Okay, it's in me. I know all the circuits, and then I have questions every so often. I'm like, well, why does this work better than that? And then you have to figure out why. And there's no information about certain things. I found this article, which isn't there anymore. I would have told you what it was, where it was. But in other words, a lot of stuff's disappearing off the internet because the information nobody cares about. All right, they don't care that the Sony radio TR 6500 isn't as good as the Radio Shack 12-655. Yeah, they don't care. So that article's not there anymore. I have the article, but in other words, they don't mention the FET. And then when I start figuring things out, I do a video. I don't do content videos. I don't go around look at what everybody else has done and then make a video. And one guy actually did that. Years ago, I took an IF can apart more than once. And I did it on one of the nationals. And then this guy looks at it, and then he takes 3 of them apart and does a video. And I started watching. I'm like, you know what? He didn't even catch what I was explaining about the coils, the spacing of the coils to get the wide, medium, and narrow out of the IF can itself. The 3 IF cans have 3 different part numbers, and they're all 3 or 455, but the coils, the distances between the 2 coils inside, anyway, he left that out, and that's what I'm trying to teach you is why does this work better than this? Why does that work better than that? And when I find out, then I immediately pass it on to you. You know, I think that's it. All right, that's it.